Okay, so this one is Seasons. This was the first 48-hour film festival that we did.
What are you, what are you doing?
Okay, I just thought we were doing like we're not. It's like an interview. Oh, okay,
No.
awesome. Good start.
Hi, I'm Tristan Hernandez. I am the co-creator for Sandy Dog Productions.
And I'm Gaelan Beatty. I'm camera for Sandy Dog. Usually, sometimes
Yeah, and co-writer. I would say co-writer for some things.
collaborator.
Collaborator.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Collaborates. He collaborates. Today we're gonna go through kind of give director's commentary for Seasons, which was the very first 48-hour film festival that we ever um did
Yeah, how'd that
did a
go?
film.
How what was that conversation like? Oh yeah, it was you saying, "Hey, we're doing a 40-hour film festival." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, it was fun. Especially because so it was No Sleep Till Film Fest.
hmm
It's the one that the Russo brothers do. Um and
And it's worldwide.
it's worldwide. And there's nothing, they don't really give you anything. We now know that like most 48-hour film festivals give you like a genre, character, lines, things like that.
Prop.
This said, here's the time that you'll get a prompt, and then your 48 hours start. And
And it was just like a public website, right? And it
yeah,
was just at 7 p.m.
yeah,
the
the
prompt appeared.
countdown stopped, and all of a sudden, words came up. And so the prompt for this one that we did was time, which is very vast.
That's so wide.
Yeah, we didn't know what to do. So it was really cool. It was amazing.
They gave examples. They were
Yeah,
like, the prompt was time. Show us something unique and different about time, whether you speed it up or slow it down or multiverse or
yeah.
whatever. Show us something that you think about time.
Yeah. Well, but with that, it's a whole thing of um, because there's so much that you can do with time. What can you do that tells a whole entire story that is under 4 minutes?
Because that was
And
key.
especially when you don't have locations set, uh,
Because
many actors.
we went in blind. Like we went
Yeah,
in.
head first, head first and blind. That's what we did. No, it was crazy. So when we got that prompt, it was. I'm remembering this right. It was Sarah Horseman, my wife, who's one of our producers, Stefan Dixon, who's one of our creative producers, you and I, we were all together having dinner, um, waiting for the prompt,
Just hanging
and
out in your house.
hanging out downstairs. And I had Final Draft on, and we were just like jotting down stuff in the beatbox. So it was like I think we went through 10 or 12 different ideas, different concepts, different things that we think we could shoot. And then we narrowed it down to what we think people would want to see. What are things that would be, I think, easiest
And
would be the
and
way to
also
shoot.
unique. Like you guys are really smart in thinking about the idea that they're going to get submissions from all over the world.
Yeah.
And what kinds of submissions are they going to get, and how are we going to make sure that ours doesn't get lost in the shuffle?
Yeah. Which is a hard thing to do when you think of time. This project actually was crazy. Stefan is the one that kind of prompted us for it. Galen, what did you say?
My thought was, have you ever been in a conversation that feels like it's a year long? And like
Yeah,
my thought was someone annoying.
yeah,
Like that was my original idea, was like
yeah,
you're in a conversation with someone and it's just like aging in front of the camera as
yeah,
the conversation goes on. And then Stefan had a way better idea.
yeah. And he was like, how about if you're having a conversation with someone that you can't have with anymore, but you have it over time? And I think at that moment, all three of us, like definitely you and Sarah, and me, well,
I
100% me,
I bought in immediately. I was like, that's
it was
amazing.
kind of like,
This was early. This was our very first 48 that we'd ever
it
done.
was not only just our first 48, it was also the very first uh, thing that we have done as a full team.
Yeah, as like
As
all of us in
what
a room.
Sandy Dog is now, all together creating something. We've all done stuff before, like we've done things for other people or projects for other people, or we had done things for a project that I did when we first started, and we were all on it. But this was like the first thing that, like, okay, this is the Sandy Dog team, which was also a really cool and unique experience too,
Yeah.
to have be like, okay, cool, we figured out who our people are.
And let's figure out how we work together, like
Yeah,
how we are a
yeah.
team.
Challenging part with this one was locations and set. Right off the bat, we knew that we wanted to have Kate, who plays Kate, who is Gaelan's wife, be the main actress. You'll see her in a second. Um,
And I had
yeah,
I think we all had the idea that uh, because it's a 48, because we have no time, because it's going to be really tricky to get it all together, to have one performer.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
eventually we had three, but we only had one performer on screen.
yeah, yeah. Because, well, yeah. And the craziest thing is, like, we started early. Gaelan wanted to start way earlier.
I did. I was like,
Um,
as camera person, I was like, oh, sunrise at this
yeah.
one particular beach near my house would be so good.
And of course, it's like, I don't know, maybe midnight. And so I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, we should do that. And then I
And
remember Sarah kind of like coming down the stairs and asked Stefan, like, what are they bickering about? And he's like, oh, we think we're gonna do like a sunrise and sunset shot. And Sarah just turned to both of us and went, how about no? And we went, yeah, okay.
because I
And
also should not have been like at midnight would not be a good time to text my wife who was already in bed and go, hey, can you reset your alarm till 4
yeah,
so that we can get sunrise? Like
yeah.
that was not. We'd only been married a year. I don't think that would have gone over well.
Yeah, it was funny. It was great. Let's dive in and we'll stop and start and talk about some stuff. But yeah, this is the first shot.
Yeah, I know. I'll come around to it. Just gonna take some time.
You mentioned that you were feeling a little.
So remember how we
I
said
just wanted
sunrise?
you to know that, well,
You can tell it's not sunrise
will
now,
get easier.
right?
No.
They always do. It's just. It's just that. I can't understand how this is real life. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
It was so good to
So with that shot at the top, um, start of the day, I think we started at 7.
Yeah, because Kate had to wake up at 6 to do makeup.
Yeah. So we started at 7. We got into Galen's parking garage, and we set up. It was the first time that we had ever used. We're not sponsored by them, but we use a lot of their products. Tilta's float system with the DJI,
With the harness,
with the harness,
with the DJI steady on the top.
yeah, and we have
on
a
the pole.
Atmos 5 as the monitor, but it was the very first time. So like we'd set it up, but we've never used it for an actual shoot. And so we get there at 7, we set everything up, and then
Really excited about it. So for some reason, I also turned the camera on.
yeah, and then it was
Sure.
like a 10-minute walk to their first location. So we end up going, we walk there, we're doing everything, and we're trying to set up, we're trying to figure out the shot, everything's going, and then the batteries went no to us. And we went, why? So we ended up getting Stefan to run back and get it, and then he grabbed the wrong bag because I just grabbed the bag that there's 2 bags in the car that looked exactly the same.
So then he ran all the way to the car,
Yeah.
got the bag,
Got a bag,
came all the
came
way
back
back.
that had the cables in it.
And then I was like, we're not going to make Stefan run again. So I ran back to the car, got the actual bag that we needed,
Yeah,
came back. We were supposed to start filming at 8.
Yeah. And we didn't start filming until just after 10.
Yeah.
So this first shot, where is it? This first shot, which is a beautiful shot. It's a beautiful shot. We wanted to get this background and also try and figure out the rack focus because
Also, yeah, first time doing a rack.
first time doing a rack focus with this new setup. It wasn't me on, you know, a nucleus actually like doing it with a different monitor. Like Gaelan was doing everything, which was sick. But
So fun.
trying to do this while people were walking their dogs and not getting in the shot after we just had this whole panic.
And it's a 48-hour film festival, and we're already 2 hours behind. And we haven't shot a single frame.
Yeah, and of course we all just kind of took a breath and we're like, okay, let's just do it.
We're gonna do what we're gonna do.
Here we go. But yeah, this shot was absolutely fantastic. Like it's one of my this shot and the end shot is probably one of my favorite shots.
So stressful to get, but once we had that in the can, we were like, oh, we can probably do this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was great. After that moment, I think everything worked to our favor.
Flawlessly.
Well, I wouldn't say flawlessly. But anyways.
They always do. It's just that I can't understand how this is real life. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
It was
So
so good to see you
flawlessly.
last weekend. It was
Flawlessly,
nice
yeah.
to have the whole family together, wasn't it?
Shout out to Sarah
Yeah,
Horseman
that was nice.
for
Set
Set
Deck.
Deck.
Could you check in on your brother for me? You know how he is on answering his phone.
A little
So it
Hallmark
makes me feel
zoom
good
or
to know
pan
that
up
you've got
from
an
the
eye on
wine
him.
glass.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying, Dad. What else do you want me to do?
We tried to do
Hi,
a
honey, how you
wipe,
doing?
tried to do the match
hope you're having
cut,
a great day.
didn't end up
I'm doing
working.
okay.
That worked. That
It works.
That was
it
a
works.
good match cut.
It works. It works. But the craziest thing was like the Christmas shot. So the second shot was the very last shot that we did. It's pitch black, dead of night. I think it was like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Everything's set up and we tried to put as much light in, but everything was getting like all the batteries by that time were dying on us.
And also, we didn't want it to look super artificial and super
Yeah.
lit, so we were trying to use. I think we might have put like orange on the TV to try and light.
Yeah, I think
her.
we put the Yule log on,
Get a little bit of flicker. On the,
and then we put MCs,
yeah.
the aperture MCs.
Yes, on the front of
we
the.
put 4 of them
TV
on the
table.
front, 2 of them at different heights so that it had a different bounce. But the hard part was Gaelan getting in the way of the light because the TV is right in front. And so when he was swinging down for that second shot, we had to try and maneuver the lights, but then it was doing a weird spill. So we couldn't get as much light as we
So tricky, and especially
wanted to.
when every other shot just about was all natural light.
It was
I think
all
every
natural
other
light.
shot was natural light.
There was some bounce. We used a bit of bounce.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure on the last shots, like on the last shots that we did in
Oh yeah, right. We'll get there.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I'm remembering when we were doing this shot and she had the flowers, and you kept telling her to tilt the bouquet higher,
oh
and I was so
This part?
confused because we hadn't shot this yet. This was last shot, and you kept just saying tilt the flowers higher. And I
Yeah.
was so confused as to what you were looking for. But then we get that dissolve, and it's so good.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I tried to do, there was a paper going around when we were writing of I was trying to fix it in my head of what transitions we would need to try and have a smooth shooting list because it's 48 hours. We had barely had any time to write the script. So trying to figure out things so that when we got to it, and then half of the shots, because we didn't know locations, it was hard to get the proper wipes and transitions that we wanted.
And because between each section, the idea is that months have passed. And to have any kind of continuity through, it's super jarring to have just full end start up a new
Yeah.
thing. So Tristan really thought ahead about transitioning shots in between
Yeah.
to make sure that something carried the flow across.
Yeah.
Because we had different soundscapes, we had fully different lighting states, we had fully different outfits for our performer.
Yeah.
Everything was so different. To have a transition shot that moved through from section to section was like really important to maintaining a sense of story.
Yeah. So it was, I think maybe three actually worked. This next one coming up, Gaelan has a funny story about it.
I'd drop work in a heartbeat to go home. Anything to get out of the city.
So right there, on the original shot list that we had, the transition was to follow past as she went out into, because she was all in shadow for that shot on the
Yeah.
street, and I would follow past her, and then I would stop, and she'd walk fully out of focus into a sunbloom,
Yeah, and then I would add an artificial whiteout
and then we would zoom up out of the margarita
straight into
into the next frame,
the
from
next
spring into summer,
yeah.
and that we left that one on the cutting room floor. That never quite
Yeah, we had to. We had to.
totally
It also looked really weird because we weren't shooting really close into the blender. Because we shot this whole entire thing on 35 on the Miki S35 35 millimeter. So we weren't shooting that close. And so when I tried to do the bloom out effect to just the inside swirl of the blender, zooming out artificially to reveal that it's in a blender looked so fake. And I was like I can't.
like a Batman transition, like
Yeah.
a boom, spinning,
Yeah,
rotate out.
I couldn't do it.
And also in that last section, in the spring section where she's sniffing the flowers and walking along the street, like a good example of how things don't necessarily always go your way, and you have to be really capable of thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
Is that we didn't really. I had a general idea about location for that.
Yeah.
And the location was that balcony, because there's one balcony between my house or my apartment and the grocery store that had these hanging baskets or these flowered baskets on them. And then when we got there, there were not nearly as many as I thought there would be.
Yeah.
So we felt like it didn't have the impact that we wanted of flowers. So Sarah, one of our producers, volunteered to go to the store and buy a bouquet.
But then she calls me and she goes, "So how about this? How about this one? And how about this?" And I'm like, "I don't know what that flower is." So I'm relaying it to the crew, going like, "Anybody else know what this is?" And
Who
she's
has an
like, "It's
opinion
this
about
kind
flowers?"
of tone and this kind of color." And I'm like,
And Sarah was
"Sure."
going, "What's the palette for this shot?"
We're like, "We don't know. We haven't found the location yet." Anyways, yeah, no, it was a good one. And then when we got into this section,
Don't care anymore. That's
Right
why I'm
here.
margaritas.
right here.
This is the rooftop deck of my apartment that I've never been to other than for this shot.
So right here, poor Kate. So we get up, we get up onto this rooftop, and there's a family of 6 having a barbecue. And we're going, what? Okay. And the dad's just flipping burgers and just watching us because there's 6 of us coming through
With a big camera
big
rig.
camera rig and everything.
A boom, like a big sound bar.
Boom. I'm pretty
everything.
sure I was holding the bounce, to kind of cut out some light.
And then we get the lean back landing transition. Boom. Nice.
Could be a little bit cleaner.
Hi, honey.
Not getting me in the reflection of
I
the
hope you're having a
glass
great day.
windows.
It was so good to see you last weekend.
Transition from
It was nice to
telephone
have the whole family together, wasn't it?
to natural.
Could you check in on your brother for me?
Same
You
location
know how he is on answering his phone.
as the start.
Also, it makes me feel good to know that you've got an eye out on him.
Bring that cycle idea back, right?
How's work been this week? Has it gotten a little easier? It can be tough starting over, but I know you'll come around to it.
Still one of my favorite shots.
You mentioned that you were feeling a little lonely lately, and I just wanted you to know that, well, things will get easier. They always do. Anyway, I shall let you go. I just wanted to call and let you know that I was thinking of you.
One
I'll
shot.
be thinking of you until I see you again. Love you, honey.
Love you too, Dad.
End of message. To delete this message, press 7. To save it, press 9.
We had Sarah doing this live too.
To delete this message, press 7. To save it, press 9.
God, the stress of doing that live, the stress of watching the sun go down on a 48-hour film festival. You have literally 4 or 5 minutes of that sunset
I'll
light.
try and find it.
And we got the shot that we wanted, the over the shoulder that was beautiful, and then we wanted that rose gold like yellow light on her face.
So right here, this is what Gaelan's talking about. So if you can see my cursor, when we started, the sun was up here. And
we
then
did one
we did
shot.
one shot, which was we did one shot, which was this shot, just a little bit wider. Galen was a little bit farther back. And then by the time that we set up for this shot, the sun was way down here. And so all of us were freaking out, going, it's going down too quick.
And it's like, okay, we have time for a wide facing her, and then a
Yeah.
medium close facing her, and then the sun was gone.
Yeah, and like, I think by the time that we got to here, yeah, you can see
It was gone.
it was completely like the sun's completely gone from behind those buildings. Like it was done. I think we got maybe 4 or 5 shots, usable shots.
We did 2 of the over the shoulder turn, 1 wide, 1 medium, and the sun was gone.
Yeah. So it was fast paced. Like we had to, we had to do it.
And in the middle of that, again, we're in a public space. We're in an area where that's when you're looking over her shoulder and you see that spit that there's people walking on, on that seawall there. To get to that seawall, you have to walk past us. And so we're setting up the shot, we're stressing out, making sure everything's kind of, and then 2 people on bikes, a couple on a date on bikes, just pull up behind Kate and then get off, and then they're just standing there watching the sunset. And we're like, you have to move.
Yeah.
You have to get out of the shot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was either Sarah or Stefan being like,
it was producers.
Sorry, can you please just move for like 2 minutes?
Just 10
That's
feet
all
that
you
way.
need.
Just get out of
the
the
shot, please, so we can do this. But no, it was, I mean, yeah, that's guerrilla filmmaking.
That's what it
And
is.
you kind of have to for a 48, because I mean, unless you own a location, if you're shooting outside, you have to just kind of go for it.
Yeah. Which is one of the limitations of the 48 too, right? Like when it comes to setting yourself up a box to be creative in, like going back to what we were talking about with the prompt itself, which was time. And that was such a broad concept that it's easy to get lost in it, and it's easy to not know which direction to go and be starved for choice because there's too many and you can't choose. So putting limitations on it, like putting a limitation that all our locations are going to be outside.
Yeah.
Like all of them. That way we don't have to rent a space.
Yeah.
That is like, it limits you in a way, and also opens up your creativity.
And also not shooting big enough that we would have to get a permit for.
Yeah.
Which is another huge thing of being like, we have to shoot fast, we have to shoot that, we can't have a full crew, we can't shut down half a park because then you have to get permits. So
we can have 1 camera, 1 sound.
Yeah.
1 performer.
Yeah, maybe a light on the camera if you need extra light. So yeah, trying to figure out all those kinds of like limitations and adding them to the script. Yeah, it makes it fun.
Speaking of the script, let's talk about that process a little bit, because this was our first 48. We didn't really know what that would entail because you just kind of volunteered us, which was amazing. When we got the prompt at 7, we set aside some hours to conceive.
About like 2 or 3 we came up, I think everyone came up with at least 2 or 3 different concepts each, and we wrote them down, and then after we kind of went through every single one of them, and whoever made up that concept kind of like pitched it to us.
And we did this on like a 2-hour deadline. At the end of 2 hours, we're like, okay, now we're choosing one.
And one thing that Sarah said was really smart was, this is worldwide. The concept is time. There's so much that you can do with time. What is something that not a lot of people are going to be doing?
How are we going to stand out?
And how are we going to stand out? And so, yeah, when this one locked in, because there's a few that we really wanted to do.
We might save for later.
Yeah, we might save for later, like we said at the beginning. But it's we would need, like, we would have to get a warehouse, or like, we need props, we need VFX, like things like that for some of them.
And like really great ideas
that
we got really excited about, and then went, how do we film that tomorrow.
Yeah. So, but it was also a really cool thing of being like, you know, you gotta kill your babies. You gotta kind of go, oh, I'm so sorry, but the ride is this high.
Yeah.
And you're under that line, so we can't take you on this ride with us.
You're not getting on.
So it was really interesting. But I mean, the four of us, because it was the first time that all four of us were like in a room together, kind of writing,
Mm-hmm.
and
So we-
bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah. So we conceived for 2 hours ish.
Yeah.
We wrote for probably 5 hours ish.
No.
And that, well, from like 9 to 2 ish, which is 5.
Yeah, I would say we've probably finished writing around 1-ish, and then we talked about
And we talked
shooting.
about shooting and like what our schedule was going to be and
Yeah.
locations. And because if you watch the short, which you should, it's less than 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes long.
I have it right here. It's 3:02.
3 minutes long.
After the added, it's 3 minutes.
3 minutes long.
It's 3
So
minutes long.
It's 2 people talking.
Yep.
And one of them is Mark Allen, who was our dad in the call.
Yeah, the voiceover for the dad, which was also crazy because we started at 7, and poor Mark. Well, I mean, poor everybody, but Mark, who did not have to be there, came so he could read the lines and the pace that we wanted him to read, so that Kate actually had an acting partner.
Yeah.
Behind camera, reading out the lines so she could actually react, and it wasn't something that she just memorized and was in her head about.
Yeah. So he was there all day
which
with us.
also made it crazier. That's something else that we haven't talked yet is that on the Sunday, I realized that we couldn't use any of the audio that we used other than
tones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than actual location tone. So we had to do ADR, which was crazy, and trying to manipulate it and try and make it natural. But it's something that, you know, I don't think I didn't think about in such a quick time frame. I did not think about. I should have.
And matching performance, and then it got us into some situations where on the bridge in the first fall section, we ended up not getting the coverage we needed. You think the battery on your camera died? And we're back. Camera batteries and everything. I was saying that on the bridge, we didn't get the coverage that we wanted because we had started 2 hours late, so we were stressed. And so with the ADR, it was a challenge to match the audio to the video, so that's why we ended up using the reverse shot over a shoulder.
Yeah, and then we couldn't do the wipe because
And we
of the
couldn't do the
reverse.
wipe because of that.
Yeah, which was.
So the ADR solved a lot of issues and then caused us to have to scramble in different ways, which is.
And the craziest thing is, like, so with the 48, if you've never done a 48 before, you get the prompt on a Friday night. Hopefully you write it at night time. And then you start on Saturday. You usually shoot all Saturday, and then you edit, and you have to upload it by the same time that you got the prompt on Friday. You have to submit it before on the Sunday. So what we did was we wrote on the Friday after we got the prompt. We shot all day on Saturday. I went home because I think we ended around. I think I left your place at 11.
Yeah.
So when we got back after collecting all the gear, all that stuff, we went back, and then I uploaded all the footage, which takes about an hour or two because it's all 6K footage, and all the audio. And then I did a rough cut that night, and I'm pretty sure I finished it. So no color grading or anything like that. But yeah, I did a rough cut. And then I realized that the audio wasn't going to work. So I texted Gaelan, I'm pretty sure like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, saying, hey, bud, can you bring Kate with you when you come back in the morning so we can do ADR? Because we have to ADR this whole thing. Which sucked, you know, like, but kind of like what we said at the beginning is that you have to just kind of take a breath and go, sweet, this didn't work. How can we fix it? Because if you don't, it will crush you.
On the fly, you got to be able to roll with the punches and solve the issues as they come up.
Yeah. So So we did that with every single 48 that we've
There's-
ever done.
It's never flawless.
Mark Allen's stuff was already done, so we already knew where the father's speeches were, and I paced out the shots to that speech. So when Kate came in and we did ADR, well, I already had a full take for her to just watch over, pace herself to the shot, and then she was able to read it, and it was basically, I think we did 2 takes for every single.
And you
every
guys,
single scene.
you nailed it.
Yeah.
It looks, there's never a moment where I think, oh, is that ADR?
Yeah.
Like it always kind of.
And I tried to blend it in so it sounded more natural with tone
from a different location.
from the different locations.
Yeah.
And while I was doing that, Gaelan took the zoom and
Just
got
walked-
Foley of like walking on gravel.
Just
and
walked
things
around
like
with it
that.
pointed at my feet as I was walking on gravel and pavement and
Yeah.
like dirt to try and get all the different
So
sounds.
yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, that first night was nuts. I think I got 4 hours of sleep on the Friday, maybe 6 on the Saturday night because I slept in here
And so much
on
of
a
that
dog bed.
on the dog bed in the corner where you belong.
Yeah.
So much of that was also about planning paying off. Like one thing about this short in particular that I think is really strong is the script. Like the script is
Yeah.
so strong, and I think that's one of the benefits of it being so short.
Yeah.
Is it really allowed us to like really hone it in and make sure it was saying what we wanted it to say. So the second layer underneath what we're saying is going through the stages of grief. Like you had the great idea to really make sure that each section was a different stage of grief. So we have the anger, we have the bargaining, we have the acceptance, we have the denial, we have all of those. If you actually watch each section, they will be a section of dealing with grief.
But not only that, we also wanted to relay that it starts off in fall and ends in fall. But we go through every single season, and doing that through image
Mhm.
instead of over explaining, and trying to relay that story also, that it's happening throughout a year, this conversation.
So having, we told that so much with costumes as well, because we had our a sweater in the first scene, and then we had, of course, the set deck that Sarah did for Christmas, and then we had flowers to represent spring, which was great.
Yeah.
And then coming back around, also the cyclical nature of time, which is what the
time.
prompt is, and a year, and also using the same locations for the first fall and the last fall as well.
Yeah.
Same location, but at the opposite time of day.
Yeah.
So it's familiar, but it's clear that time has passed,
Yeah.
like a whole year.
And also, like, with that, kind of going back to what Sarah was saying, is that how can we do something that isn't going to be done? Because time doesn't need to be linear. We thought of a very linear story, but broke it up, which was really hard to write because the first thing that we had to write was not Kate's script, was the original voicemail that then we could break up and have hints of every single
And
season.
moving it around so that it's not linear. Like
Yeah.
the story is linear, but his dialogue is broken up and put in non-linearly, so that hopefully the audience can pick up that it feels like she's having a conversation.
Yeah.
Until we hear every part of the conversation from his point of view all in one go at the end.
And I think one of the ways that we did that, I don't remember if you remember this, but when we were writing, we didn't have Kate's script yet. So when we were writing, I would read a section and I would be like, that's probably where that first section is going to end for Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would read it, and then Gaelan would give me a response. Of
Yeah.
like,
We just role played it.
If I was talking to you and I had said this line, what would you say back to me? And that's kind of how we wrote Kate's script, or portion of it.
And then once that was established, then we brought in the dealing with the stages of grief.
Yes.
And then tailored each response to live in one of those stages.
And then figuring out her actions on screen to also mimic that way. Physicality, tone. It was amazing. Like it was a crazy experience to be our first 48 and putting all that kind of depth inside.
Yeah,
hopefully...
so much depth, so many different layers.
Yeah.
that maybe you'll feel rather than think.
Yeah.
Right? Like you'll feel that she is going through denial. You'll feel that she is going through anger,
Yeah.
bargaining. When she says that she would give anything to be at the lake with her family, that's bargaining. When
Yeah,
she's angry at her father for saying that she should spend more time with her brother,
yeah.
like all of those, and then to come to acceptance at the end, or is it? Because we don't actually get to see if she presses 7 or 9.
Yeah.
Does she delete that message from her father because she has finished her grieving process? Or does she hang on to that message because it's just nice having a message from your father who's passed? Like,
Dealer's choice.
we leave that up to you.
But no, it was a great time. And we hope that you love the short as much as we do.
It won the whole festival. So
No, not even close.
it did not.
It didn't.
We
Unfortunately,
got zero feedback.
we got zero feedback.
Screaming into a void.
So that was Seasons. Like I said before, I'm Tristan,
I'm Gaelan.
and we hope that you like and subscribe to the channel, and go watch Seasons fully without our interruptions.
Without our annoying faces. If you have any questions, we hope that you enjoyed this little breakdown, this behind the scenes. If you have any questions about doing a 48, working in a team, or the short itself, please don't hesitate. Put them down in the comments so that we can engage.
And until next time.
The fireworks are crazy. That's crazy. Bye.